March 1st, 1896. More than 100,000 African warriors stand ready beneath the Ethiopian mountains. Across from them, a modern European army armed with rifles, artillery, and the confidence of an empire. The Europeans expected an easy victory. Instead, what happened that day would shock the entire world. An African emperor would do what almost no nation had done during the age of colonialism. He would utterly destroy a European army. This is the story of the African emperor who humiliated an empire. The late 1800s were a dark time for Africa. European powers were dividing the continent among themselves: Britain, France, Belgium, Germany, Portugal, and Italy. One by one, African kingdoms fell. European newspapers claimed Africa would soon belong entirely to Europe. But there was one kingdom they underestimated: Ethiopia. An ancient civilization with a history stretching back thousands of years. A kingdom of warriors, kings, churches, and fierce independence. At its center stood a remarkable leader, Emperor Menelik II. Italy was one of Europe's newest powers. Unlike Britain and France, it possessed few colonies. Italian leaders wanted an African empire, and they believed Ethiopia would be easy to conquer. In 1889, Italy presented a treaty to Menelik, the Treaty of Wuchale. But hidden inside the treaty was a deception. The Italian version claimed Ethiopia had become an Italian protectorate. The Ethiopian version said no such thing. When Menelik discovered the deception, he was furious. He immediately rejected the treaty. Italy responded with threats, then military mobilization. War had become inevitable. Most European leaders assumed Ethiopia would collapse. They were wrong. Menelik had been preparing for years. He purchased modern rifles, artillery, ammunition, and military equipment from Europe itself. Then he sent a message across Ethiopia, a call to arms. The response was extraordinary. Warriors came from every region. Farmers became soldiers. Princes brought armies. Nobles brought cavalry. Men and women contributed supplies. By early 1896, Ethiopia had assembled one of the largest African armies in modern history. More than 100,000 fighters. A force so massive that Italian commanders could scarcely believe the reports. March 1st, 1896. Near the town of Adwa, the Italian army advanced. Their commanders believed Ethiopian forces were disorganized. They expected a quick victory. Instead, they marched into disaster. The Italian columns became separated across difficult terrain. Communication collapsed. Confusion spread. Then the Ethiopians attacked. Thousands, then tens of thousands. Wave after wave. The mountains erupted with gunfire. War cries echoed through the valleys. The Italian lines began to break. Then they shattered completely. Menelik's forces overwhelmed position after position. Italian soldiers fled. Officers were captured. Entire units disappeared. The battle became a rout. By sunset, the supposedly superior European army had been crushed. The news exploded across the world. Europe could hardly believe it. An African nation had defeated a major European power in open battle. Not a raid, not a rebellion, a full-scale military victory. Italy lost thousands of soldiers. Many more were captured. The humiliation was devastating. Newspapers across Europe called it a catastrophe. Governments reevaluated their assumptions about Africa. For colonial powers, Adwa was a warning. For Africans, it became a symbol. Proof that resistance was possible. The significance of Adwa extended far beyond Ethiopia. For decades, anti-colonial leaders would look to Menelik's victory for inspiration. Across Africa, across the Caribbean, across the Black world, Ethiopia became a symbol of freedom, a reminder that African nations could stand against imperial powers. Even during the darkest years of colonial rule, Adwa remained a beacon of hope. One battle, one emperor, one victory that shattered a myth. The myth that Europe was invincible. History remembers many conquerors, but some leaders are remembered because they refused to be conquered. Emperor Menelik II did more than defend a nation. He defended an idea, that African sovereignty mattered, that freedom was worth fighting for. And on the mountains of Adwa, he proved it. The victory at Adwa remains one of the greatest military triumphs in African history.